Welcome to my Channel Deep Sleep Mission-DSM. As we begin, I would be delighted if you could share your location in the comments below. It's truly inspiring to witness how far this content travels and to connect with viewers from across the world. I found the business card in my jacket pocket 3 weeks after my wife left me. Crumpled between an old receipt and a stick of gum. Dr. Eliza Thorne, clinical hypnotherapist. The card felt heavier than it should have, like it was meant to be found. Sarah had taken everything when she left, even the coffee maker. Said I'd become someone she didn't recognize anymore, that I'd changed. But here's the thing, I hadn't felt any different, not until I found that card. The address led me to a brownstone in Brooklyn, one of those old buildings that somehow survived gentrification. No sign outside, just a brass plaque that read Suite 3B. If you're listening to this at night, maybe turn on another light, because what happened in that office still visits me when I close my eyes. And sometimes, I wonder if the person telling you this story is really me at all. The story begins now. The waiting room smelled like vanilla candles and old leather. Not unpleasant, but wrong somehow. Like someone trying too hard to create atmosphere. Classical music played from hidden speakers. Chopin, I think. The kind of music that's supposed to be calming, but just makes you more aware of your own heartbeat. I almost left 3 times. The receptionist's desk sat empty. Just a bell with a handwritten note. Ring for service. The handwriting looked careful, too careful, like someone concentrating very hard on appearing normal. I didn't ring the bell. Instead, I sat in one of those chairs that's too comfortable, the kind that makes you sink in and wonder if you'll be able to get back up. Rain tapped against the window, steady and hypnotic. I checked my phone, 3:47 p.m. My appointment was at 4 o'clock. Mr. Davidson, I hadn't heard her enter. Dr. Thorne stood in the doorway like she'd materialized from the wallpaper. Mid-50s, silver hair pulled back tight. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Yes, that's me. My voice cracked. When had my mouth gotten so dry? Wonderful, I've been expecting you. She gestured toward her office. Shall we begin? The thing is, I hadn't made an appointment. I'd just shown up, but pointing that out felt rude somehow. So I followed her. Her office was smaller than the waiting room. One window, heavy curtains drawn. A leather recliner sat in the center, positioned at an angle that made me uncomfortable just looking at it. The walls were bare except for her diplomas. Stanford, Johns Hopkins. Places that should have made me feel safe. They didn't. Please, make yourself comfortable. She motioned to the recliner. I know why you're here, Mr. Davidson. I settled into the leather, trying not to think about how many other people had laid here before me. You do? Of course. She pulled a notebook from her desk. You want to remember who you were before? My breath caught. Before what? That's what we're here to discover. She clicked her pen. The sound echoed too loud in the small room. Tell me, when did you first notice something was wrong? The question should have been strange. I'd come here about my anxiety, my failing marriage, but sitting in that chair, staring at the slow rotation of the ceiling fan, her question made perfect sense. 6 months ago. The words came without thought. I woke up one morning and my coffee tasted different. Different how? Like I'd never tasted coffee before. Like my tongue was new. I laughed, but it sounded hollow. Sarah thought I was being dramatic. Dr. Thorne wrote something down. Her pen scratched against paper like fingernails on wood. What else? My handwriting changed, just slightly. I'm left-handed, always have been. But one day, I picked up a pen with my right hand. Wrote a whole grocery list before I noticed. My hands gripped the armrests. Sarah said I was overthinking things. But you knew better. I knew better. The words felt heavy, true. Sometimes I'd look in the mirror and feel like I was seeing someone else's reflection. Same face, same eyes, but wrong. Like a photocopy of a photocopy. The ceiling fan continued its lazy rotation. Around and around and around. Mr. Davidson, I'm going to count backwards from 10. With each number, you'll feel more relaxed, more open, ready to remember what you've forgotten. I don't think I want to be hypnotized. The protest came out weak. My eyelids already felt heavy. You already are. Her voice seemed to come from very far away. You've been hypnotized for 6 months. I'm simply going to wake you up. 10. The fan blurred into a gentle spiral. 9. My fingers loosened on the armrests. 8. When had the room gotten so warm? 7. I need you to understand something. What happened next, it didn't feel like going under. It felt like surfacing. Like I'd been holding my breath for 6 months, and finally, I could breathe. 3. The office dissolved. Not all at once. First the edges, then the center, like a photograph burning from the outside in. But I wasn't falling asleep. I was waking up. 2. Memories flooded back. Not my memories. His memories. The original William Davidson. The one whose life I'd been living. The one whose wife I'd been sleeping next to. The one whose face I'd been wearing. 1. I opened eyes that weren't mine in a body that wasn't mine in a life that wasn't mine. Dr. Thorne leaned forward. Her face had changed. Or maybe I was just seeing it clearly for the first time. The angles were wrong. Too sharp. Like someone had tried to sculpt a human face from memory and gotten the proportions slightly off. There you are. Her smile stretched too wide. Welcome back, Subject 7. Subject 7. The name hit me like ice water. That's who I was. Not William Davidson. I'd never been William Davidson. I can see you're struggling. Dr. Thorne's voice dripped sympathy that didn't match her expression. The integration process is always disorienting. Tell me, what's the last thing you remember? Your real last memory? Flashes. A white room. Needles. Forms to sign. Volunteers wanted for experimental therapy. Breakthrough treatment for dissociative disorders. $5,000 compensation. The clinic, my voice, not William's voice, and came out rough. I volunteered for our revolutionary consciousness transfer program. Yes. She tapped her pen against her teeth. You were quite eager, if I recall. Desperate even. Do you remember why? I did. God help me, I did. I was nobody. The words tasted like copper. 23 years old, no family, no friends, failed out of college, living in my car. I wanted to disappear. And we gave you exactly what you wanted. Her pen scratched across paper. A new life, a successful accountant's life, complete with a beautiful wife, a brownstone in Park Slope, and a 401k. Everything you dreamed of. But it wasn't mine. Wasn't it? She tilted her head. You lived it for 6 months, loved Sarah. Went to William's job, ate dinner with William's friends. At what point does a borrowed life become your own? My hands. William's hands shook. What happened to him, the real William? Oh, he's quite safe. Sleeping peacefully in our facility upstate. Has been since the transfer. We're not monsters, Subject 7. We're scientists. Pioneers in consciousness research. You stole his life. We borrowed it, with his full consent, I might add. Poor William came to us with terminal brain cancer. 6 months to live. We offered him hope, a chance to sleep through the worst of it while experimental treatments worked their magic. And in exchange, you gave his life to me. Temporarily, the agreement was always for 6 months, long enough for our treatments to work. Long enough for you to experience what you thought you wanted. She stood, smoothing her skirt. Tell me, was it everything you dreamed? I wanted to say no. Wanted to scream that living someone else's life was a nightmare. But Sarah's laugh when I told a joke, the weight of a steady paycheck, Sunday mornings with coffee and crosswords, the simple pleasure of being someone who mattered. It was perfect. The admission burned. Right up until it started falling apart. Ah, yes, the degradation. Unfortunate, but expected. You see, consciousness is like water. It always seeks its own level. Your mind began rejecting the foreign patterns. Hence, the coffee tasting strange. The handwriting changes. Your true self breaking through. Sarah knew something was wrong. Wives always know. Dr. Thorne moved to the window, parting the curtains slightly. She loved William, not you. You can wear his face, live in his house, but you can't replicate 30 years of shared history. The small things give you away. The way he touched her shoulder, how he laughed at her jokes, 1,000 tiny intimacies you could never quite master. So she left. She left William, the broken version you created. The doctor turned back to me. Which brings us to today. The 6 months are up. Time to return what you borrowed. My heart, William's heart, hammered against borrowed ribs. What if I don't want to? I'm afraid that's not an option. She pulled a syringe from her desk drawer. Clear liquid caught the light. The process is quite painless. You'll simply go to sleep. And when William wakes, he'll have 6 months of memories that feel like dreams. He'll think the treatment worked. His cancer will be in remission. Sarah will come back to the man she actually loves. Happy endings all around. And me? You'll return to your original body, currently in stasis at our facility, with a check for $5,000 and a fascinating experience to process. She approached with the syringe. Though I should mention, we do offer a repeat customer discount if you'd like to try another life. No, I pressed back into the chair. No, I can't. I can't go back to being nobody. Everyone is somebody, Subject 7. You just didn't like who you were. The needle glinted. But that's the beautiful thing about our program. There's always someone willing to trade, someone desperate enough to sleep through their problems while another person lives their life. She was close now. Close enough that I could see my reflection in her glasses. William's reflection. The face I'd stolen. The life I'd borrowed. Please, I gripped the armrests. There has to be another way. There is, she paused, syringe hovering. We're always looking for new volunteers, new lives to catalog, new candidates for transfer. Help us find them, and perhaps we can work out an arrangement. You want me to recruit people? Think of it as a referral program. Bring us subjects. The desperate, the dying, the ones who want to disappear. And we'll let you keep playing dress-up a little longer. Her smile was all teeth. Though not as William. Sarah's expecting him back, but there are other lives available, other faces to wear. The offer hung between us like a poisoned fruit. Become complicit in this nightmare, or return to my empty existence. I need time to think. You have 30 seconds. She checked her watch. William's treatment window closes at 5 p.m. After that, the cancer returns, and I doubt you want his death on your conscience. 29, 28, 27. I wish I could tell you I chose to be noble, that I took the needle and gave William back his life without hesitation, but sitting in that chair, wearing his skin, living his dreams. Nobility felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. 10 seconds, Subject 7. The ceiling fan continued its endless rotation, around and around, like thoughts circling a drain. 5 seconds. Wait, the word cracked like a whip. The referral program. How many people would I need to bring you? Dr. Thorne lowered the syringe slightly. 1 per month, minimum. Quality, candidates only. We have standards. And in exchange? A new identity every 6 months, your choice from our catalog. We have quite the selection. A chef in Portland, a teacher in Boston, a musician in Nashville, all sleeping peacefully, waiting for someone to keep their lives warm. My stomach twisted. These people, they all agreed to this? Every single one. Terminal illnesses, crushing debt, unbearable grief. We offer them escape. Temporary oblivion while someone else handles their problems. She gestured around the office. This is a mercy, Subject 7, not a crime. It feels like a crime. So does poverty, so does cancer, so does a life that never quite started. Her voice softened with false compassion. I'm offering you the chance to be anyone, to live a dozen different lives, to matter in ways you never could as yourself. The math was simple. My conscience for a lifetime of borrowed dreams. I'll do it. The words hung in the air like smoke. Dr. Thorne smiled. That too wide smile that made my skin crawl. Excellent choice. She returned the syringe to her desk. Though we'll still need to extract you from William. Can't have you wearing his face when he returns to Sarah. Right now? Oh no, you have 3 days, time to tie up loose ends, pack his things. Leave a note for Sarah explaining his absence. Make it believable. Men have breakdowns all the time. She handed me a business card, different from the one I'd found. This one was black with silver text. Your handler will contact you with your next assignment. I took the card with numb fingers. My handler. Someone needs to manage your transitions, ensure clean transfers, monitor for degradation. She opened the office door. Welcome to the program, Subject 7. Try not to disappoint us. The walk back through the waiting room felt like a dream. The empty receptionist desk, the 2 comfortable chairs, the vanilla candles that couldn't mask the wrongness underneath. Outside, Brooklyn looked exactly the same. People hustled past, lost in their own lives, their own problems, their own faces that actually belonged to them. I stood on the sidewalk, rain starting to fall, and wondered how many of them were real, how many were like me, wearing someone else's life like a costume. The businessman checking his phone, the mother pushing a stroller, the teenager with headphones. Any of them could be subjects, living borrowed lives while the real owners slept. My phone, William's phone, buzzed. A text from Sarah. Can we talk? I miss you. 3 days. 3 days to destroy William's marriage properly, to make his wife hate him enough that she'd welcome him back with relief when he recovered from his breakdown. 3 days to practice breaking hearts I didn't own. I typed back, I miss you too, but I'm not who you think I am. The truest words I'd ever sent. That night, I went back to William's brownstone. My key still worked. The house smelled like Sarah's perfume and abandoned dinners. She'd been there recently, looking for answers in empty rooms. I found William's journals in his study, leather-bound, organized by year. The man documented everything. His first date with Sarah, their wedding day, every anniversary, every fight, every small moment that built a life. Reading them was like studying for a test I'd already failed. All the details I'd missed. The way he called her Sarah Bear when she was sad. How he always bought tulips on Thursdays, because that's when they'd first kissed. Inside jokes I'd never understood. Pet names I'd never used right. No wonder she'd known. I spent hours in his memories, learning the man whose life I'd stolen. He wasn't just successful, he was kind. Volunteered at the soup kitchen on Saturdays. Mentored kids from his old neighborhood. The kind of person who remembered birthdays and meant it when he asked how you were. The kind of person I'd never been. My phone rang at 3 a.m. Unknown number. Subject 7? The voice was young, female, nervous. Who is this? Subject 12. Your predecessor. I recruited you. My blood chilled. You're the one who put the card in my pocket. I've been watching you for weeks, following Dr. Thorne's orders. You were perfect, desperate, alone, forgettable. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but I needed to meet quota. Where are you now? Bus station, wearing the face of a dental hygienist from Queens. Her voice cracked. I can't do this anymore. Can't keep stealing lives. Can't keep recruiting people. I wanted to warn you, they never let you stop. There's no end to the program. Just life after life after life until you forget who you started as. What are you saying? I'm saying run. Give William his life back and run. Disappear for real this time. Because once you start recruiting, once you help them hollow out more people, you become like them. Like Dr. Thorne. What do you mean, like Dr. Thorne? A long pause. When she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. She's not wearing her original face either. None of the handlers are. They've been switching bodies so long they've forgotten what they started as. Just consciousness without identity, parasites in human skin. That's insane. Is it? You've worn William for 6 months. Already his memories feel like yours. His feelings, his instincts. Give it a few more bodies, a few more lives, and you won't remember Subject 7 at all. You'll just be anyone, everyone, no one. The line went dead. I sat in William's study surrounded by his life and felt the weight of what I'd agreed to. Not just stealing lives, but losing myself completely. Becoming another Dr. Thorne. Another empty thing wearing faces like masks. 3 days suddenly felt like a lifetime. I packed methodically, leaving enough chaos to sell the breakdown but not enough to truly hurt Sarah. Emptied half the bank account. Enough to seem desperate but not enough to ruin her. Wrote a letter full of vague apologies and specific lies. But I couldn't leave. Not yet. Because Subject 12 was wrong about one thing. I did remember who I started as. The nobody in the car, the failure who'd volunteered to disappear. And maybe that person deserved to come back. To face his life instead of running from it. On the 3rd day, I returned to Dr. Thorne's office. She was waiting. Same smile, same wrong angles, same syringe. Having second thoughts, Subject 7? No. I sat in the recliner without prompting. I'm ready to go back. Her eyebrows rose. Really? After all that talk of referrals and new lives? I can't do it. Can't steal from others what was stolen from me. I closed my eyes. Even if William agreed, even if they all agreed. It's wrong. We're not meant to live as anyone but ourselves. How disappointingly noble. She prepared the syringe. Though I should warn you, your original body has been in stasis for 6 months. The adjustment period will be unpleasant. And your old life, such as it was, will be waiting exactly as you left it. I know. No money, no home, no future. Just you and your failures. I know. Very well, the needle found my vein. Sweet dreams, Subject 7. Or should I say goodbye? The drug worked fast, the office blurred. The ceiling fan slowed its rotation, and I felt myself lifting out of William's body like steam from coffee. Rising up and up and up. But here's the thing about consciousness. It's slippery, hard to contain. And sometimes it goes places it's not supposed to. As I drifted between bodies, between lives, I saw the truth. The facility upstate. Row after row of sleeping forms. Not dozens, hundreds. Each one dreaming while someone else lived their life. A warehouse of stolen identities. And in the center, the real Dr. Thorne. Not the sharp-angled thing in the office, the original. She'd been the first volunteer. The first transfer, decades ago. Now, just a withered form on life support, while dozens of others had worn her name, her degrees, her authority. The program wasn't about helping people. It was about harvesting them. Creating a network of body swappers. Identity thieves with medical degrees and legal protection. I tried to scream, tried to warn someone. But I was already fading, already returning to my original flesh. I woke up gasping. The fluorescent lights burned my eyes. My real eyes. In my real body, thin and weak from 6 months of intravenous feeding. A nurse, a real nurse, I hoped, checked my vitals. "Welcome back, mister." She checked her chart. "Johnson, Marcus Johnson, you've been in a medically induced coma for 6 months. Experimental treatment for severe depression and dissociative disorder. How do you feel?" Marcus Johnson. That was my name. Not Subject 7, not William Davidson, just Marcus. "I feel..." My voice was rust and sand. "I feel like myself." She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. "That's excellent. The doctor will be pleased. You're our first successful full recovery." "First? Oh yes, the others all experienced complications, memory confusion, identity displacement, but you seem remarkably intact." She adjusted my IV. "Dr. Thorne will want to debrief you tomorrow." My blood froze. "Dr. Thorne? The program director. She's very invested in your case." The nurse patted my hand. "Rest now. You're safe." She left me alone with the fluorescent lights and the steady beep of machines. Safe, as if that word meant anything anymore. I lay there, weak and disoriented, trying to piece together what was real. Had I really lived as William Davidson? Had there really been a warehouse of stolen bodies? Or was it all just the fevered dreams of a depressed mind in medical coma? The door opened. Footsteps approached my bed. "Hello, Marcus." I knew that voice, knew it like my own heartbeat because for 6 months it had been my wife's voice. Sarah stood at the foot of my bed. But not Sarah, not exactly. The face was right, but the angles were wrong. Too sharp, too familiar. "Dr. Thorne, I presume?" My voice barely worked. She smiled. That too wide smile I'd seen in a different face. "Oh, Marcus. Sweet, confused Marcus. There is no Dr. Thorne. Not anymore. There's just us. The borrowed, the lent, the traded." She pulled out a syringe. Different liquid this time. Dark red. "And now it's time for your next assignment." "No." I tried to move. My muscles wouldn't respond. "I completed the program. I came back." "You came back to the wrong body." She moved closer. "This isn't Marcus Johnson. Marcus Johnson volunteered for transfer 6 months ago, desperate to escape his miserable life." Sound familiar? The truth hit like cold water. I wasn't in my original body. I was in another volunteer's body, another desperate soul who'd wanted to disappear. Then where? Where's your real body? She prepped the needle. "Oh, Subject 7. You've been asking the wrong questions. It's not about where, it's about when. You see, consciousness isn't bound by linear time. We can transfer you backwards, forwards, sideways." The needle pierced my skin. "Your original body died 3 years ago, overdose. Tragic, really. We've just been recycling you ever since." The drug burned through my veins. Reality started to fold in on itself. "But don't worry," her voice came from very far away. "We have the perfect new assignment for you, a podcaster in Seattle. Tells scary stories for a living. You'll fit right in. Please." "Shh, just let go, Subject 7. Let go and become someone new, someone better, someone who matters." The last thing I saw was my reflection in her eyes. But I couldn't tell whose face I was wearing. I still can't, because I'm telling you this story now, recording it in a dark room in Seattle. Or am I? Maybe I'm still in that hospital bed. Maybe I'm William Davidson, sleeping upstate. Maybe I'm Dr. Thorne herself, so lost in borrowed lives that I've forgotten which voice is mine. All I know is this. Somewhere, in a brownstone in Brooklyn, there's an office that smells like vanilla candles and wrong. Somewhere, desperate people are trading their faces for dreams. Somewhere, Subject 12 is still running. And somewhere, there's a business card with your name on it, waiting to be found. waiting to offer you everything you've ever wanted. For the low, low price of everything you are. Sweet dreams. If you're still listening, if this story kept you awake, I need you to do something for me. Check your pockets. Check your wallet. Check that jacket you haven't worn in months. Because the program is always recruiting. And sometimes they've already chosen you. The ceiling fan in your room. Has it always spun that slowly? Has your coffee always tasted quite right? When you sign your name, does your hand hesitate just for a moment, as if remembering a different way? Leave a comment below. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me it's just a story. But before you do, look in the mirror, really look, and ask yourself, is that really your face staring back? Subscribe if you dare to hear more truth disguised as fiction. Share if you want to warn others. But whatever you do, don't volunteer for anything. You might not get yourself back. Story number 2. The scratching started 3 weeks ago. Soft at first, like tree branches against my bedroom window. But I don't have trees near that window, not anymore. Not since what happened in Cedar Falls, Minnesota. Listen, I need to tell someone this before the fog rolls in again, before it finds me. If you're watching this from somewhere safe, somewhere the fog never gets thick enough to hide things, count yourself lucky, and whatever you do, never, ever go outside when you can't see more than 10 feet ahead. My name is Sarah Chen, and I'm about to tell you why. The story begins now. I moved to Cedar Falls in early October, chasing a dream job at a small tech startup. The town sat nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. Population 8,743. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where the local diner still served pie made from scratch, and where nothing bad ever happened. Or so I thought. My rental was perfect. A craftsman bungalow on Maple Street built in 1923 with original hardwood floors that creaked in all the right places. The landlord, Mrs. Patterson, handed me the keys with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just remember," she said, adjusting her wire-rimmed glasses, "when the fog comes in, stay inside." I laughed. "Is that some kind of local superstition?" She didn't laugh back. "Just stay inside, dear, especially at night." I should have listened. The first 2 weeks passed like a dream. I settled into my routine. Coffee at the Early Bird Cafe, work at the startup, evening jogs through Riverside Park. The locals were friendly enough, though I noticed something odd. Conversations would halt mid-sentence when fog rolled through the valleys. People would glance nervously at windows, checking. Always checking. Then came October 23rd. I woke at 3:17 a.m. to the sound of my neighbor's dog, Murphy, barking frantically. Not his usual territorial woof. This was different, desperate, terrified. I stumbled to my window and pulled back the curtain. Fog. Thick, white, impenetrable fog that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. I couldn't see the streetlight that was usually visible from my bedroom. Couldn't see my car parked in the driveway, just white. Murphy's barking stopped. Not gradually, like he'd given up or gone inside. It cut off mid-bark, as if someone had pressed a mute button on the world. The silence that followed was worse than any sound I'd ever heard. It pressed against my eardrums, heavy and waiting. Then I heard it. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Long, deliberate strokes against wood. It sounded like it was coming from the side of my house, near the kitchen. I held my breath, straining to hear more. The scratching moved, slowly, methodically, around the corner of the house toward my bedroom window. My heart hammered against my ribs. Every instinct screamed at me to look, to peer out into that glowing white void. But Mrs. Patterson's words echoed in my mind, "Stay inside." I backed away from the window, grabbed my phone from the nightstand. No signal, of course. The scratching reached my bedroom window and stopped. Silence. Then, so close I could have sworn it was inside the room with me, I heard breathing. Not human breathing. Too deep, too wet, like something with lungs far larger than any person should have. In, out, in, out. A shadow passed across the fog outside my window, just for a second. A shape that my brain refused to process, refused to categorize as anything that should exist in Cedar Falls, or anywhere else. The breathing stopped. I stood frozen in the darkness of my bedroom for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Waiting. Listening. Finally, exhaustion and adrenaline crash forced me back to bed, where I lay awake until dawn, jumping at every creak of the old house. When morning came, the fog had lifted. I rushed outside looking for any sign of what had visited in the night. There, carved deep into the wood siding next to my window, were grooves. 5 parallel lines, each as thick as my thumb and nearly a foot long. They looked like claw marks, if claws could be that size. Murphy was gone. His collar lay in the middle of the Johnsons' perfectly manicured lawn, the leather torn as if by impossible strength. Mr. Johnson found it when he went to get his morning paper. I watched from my kitchen window as he picked it up, his face draining of color. He looked around quickly, nervously, then hurried inside. He didn't call the police. Nobody ever did. I should have left Cedar Falls that day, packed my things, broke my lease, and driven until I hit a coast. Any coast. But I needed answers. The scratches on my house, Murphy's disappearance, the way everyone in town seemed to accept these things as normal. It didn't make sense. I started at the library. Cedar Falls Public Library was a Carnegie building, all red brick and tall windows. The librarian, Agnes Wheeler, had been there for 43 years according to the plaque by her desk. She looked up when I approached, her fingers pausing over her keyboard. "I need to know about the fog," I said without preamble. Her fingers resumed typing. "Weather patterns are in section 551.5. No, I mean..." I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "What happens in the fog? What took Murphy?" The typing stopped again. Agnes removed her reading glasses, cleaning them slowly, deliberately. When she looked at me, her eyes held a weariness that seemed ancient. "Follow me." She led me to a back room marked "Local History, Staff Only." Inside, filing cabinets lined the walls, and a single table sat beneath a flickering fluorescent light. Agnes pulled out a thick folder and set it before me. "Read this. Don't make copies. Don't take photos. And Sarah," she paused at the door, "stop jogging in the evenings. The fog comes faster than you think." The folder contained newspaper clippings dating back to 1887, when Cedar Falls was founded. The earliest ones were yellowed and brittle, but the story they told was consistent and terrifying. October 30th, 1887. 3 settlers missing after foggy night, November 12th, 1895. Unusual fog. Bank coincides with livestock disappearances, October 15th, 1903. Child's mysterious death blamed on fog sickness. The articles continued through the decades. Always in fall, always during heavy fog, always unexplained disappearances or deaths. But it was the article from 1962 that made my blood run cold. October 28th, 1962. Local teacher documents fog phenomenon. Margaret Swift, science teacher at Cedar Falls High School, claims to have photographed unusual entity during recent fog event. "It moves on all fours but stands upright when hunting," Swift stated. "The fog isn't weather. It's camouflage." Swift's claims have been dismissed by local authorities. Her film was reportedly damaged during development. Attached to the article was a single photograph, grainy and dark. Most of it was white fog, but in the corner, something. A shape that hurt to look at. As if my eyes couldn't quite focus on it properly. It was large, wrong, and unmistakably watching whoever had taken the photo. I found Margaret Swift in the phone book. Yes, Cedar Falls still had phone books. She lived at Shady Pines Assisted Living on the edge of town. When I called, the receptionist said Miss Swift would be happy for a visitor. "Nobody comes to see her anymore," the woman said sadly. "Not since she started talking about, well, you'll see." Shady Pines smelled like disinfectant and cafeteria food. Margaret Swift's room was tidy, walls covered in pressed flowers and watercolor paintings. She sat by the window, a quilt across her lap, watching the hills with sharp eyes that belied her 91 years. "You're here about the fog," she said before I could introduce myself. I nodded, taking the chair across from her. "It marked you, didn't it?" She turned from the window, studying my face. "The scratches. Once it marks a house, it always comes back." "What is it?" Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I was 25 when I first saw it clearly. Middle of the night, fog so thick you could barely breathe. I was stupid, curious. Went to my window with a camera." She pulled open a drawer in her bedside table, withdrawing a leather journal. Her hands shook slightly as she opened it. I kept records, dates, patterns, 40 years of watching, documenting, trying to understand. She showed me pages of meticulous notes, charts, maps with red X's marking locations. It's not random. There's a hunting pattern. According to Margaret's research, the creature, she refused to call it anything else, appeared every October when specific weather conditions aligned. Low pressure systems, temperature inversions, the kind of weather that created deep, unnatural fog banks that could last for hours. "It marks houses first," she explained, tracing a finger along a hand-drawn map, always on the edge of its territory. Then it waits, tests, sees who follows the rules and who doesn't. "What rules?" "Stay inside, don't look for it. Don't try to photograph or record it, and never try to help someone it's taken." But Murphy was outside. The Johnsons knew better, but sometimes we forget. Or hope this time will be different. She closed the journal. "It's been here longer than the town. The Native Americans who lived here before, they had stories, called it the Fog Walker, said it came from somewhere else, somewhere wrong, and the fog was how it moved between worlds." "That's impossible." Margaret smiled sadly. "Is it? You've heard it? Felt it watching. Your house is marked now. It'll come back." "When?" She looked out the window at the clear October sky. "Soon. The weather's changing. Can you feel it? That heaviness in the air? By tomorrow night, maybe the next, the fog will come again. So I leave. Tonight. You can try." She turned back to me, and for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. "But Sarah, I tried to leave in '64, made it as far as Madison before my car broke down. Guess what rolled in while I waited for a tow?" The implication hung between us like a physical weight. "It doesn't like to lose prey," she whispered. "Once you're marked, geography doesn't matter. The fog finds you." I didn't believe her. Not entirely. How could I? Supernatural predators that controlled fog, that marked houses and stalked specific prey across state lines. It was insane. But as I drove home from Shady Pines, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching from the tree line. That night I packed a bag, just essentials. Laptop, clothes, the folder Agnes had let me photograph despite her warnings. I'd drive through the night, find a motel somewhere bright and busy, figure out my next move. Cedar Falls and its fog could become someone else's problem. But first, I had to know. I set up my laptop in the living room, connecting my phone as a webcam facing the front window. If something came in the fog, I'd have proof. Real evidence that might help others avoid this trap. Margaret's rules echoed in my mind. Don't record it. But I'd be gone before it mattered. The fog rolled in at 11:47 p.m. It started as wisps, delicate tendrils creeping across my lawn. Within minutes, the world outside had vanished into that familiar white void. I sat on my couch, bag beside me, car keys clutched in my hand, watching the laptop screen. Nothing. Just fog. 12:03 a.m. Still nothing. 12:15 a.m. Movement. It was subtle at first. The fog seemed to shift, currents moving in impossible directions. Then I saw it. A shadow within the white, growing larger, closer. My breath caught as the shape became clearer on the screen. Margaret had been right. It moved on all fours, but wrong, joints bending in ways that made my stomach turn. It was massive, maybe 8 feet at the shoulder, covered in what looked like wet, matted fur. But it was the head that made me bite back a scream. Too many eyes. Rows of them like a spider's, but each the size of a tennis ball, and reflecting the dim light like a cat's. When it turned toward my house, toward the camera, they all focused at once. It knew, somehow, it knew I was watching. The laptop screen flickered, static consuming the image. When it cleared, the thing was gone. I lunged for the window, peering out into the fog. Nothing. Then the scratching started. Not at the side of the house this time. The front door. Long, deliberate strokes, like it was trying to carve something. I backed away, grabbing my bag. The kitchen door. I'd go out the back, make a run for my car. The scratching stopped. Silence. A soft tap at the kitchen window, then another, rhythmic, patient. It was at the back of the house now. How had it moved so fast? I spun, looking for another exit, and froze. A face pressed against my living room window, not the creature. Human. A woman, middle-aged, still in her pajamas. She was mouthing something, eyes wide with terror. "Help me." Every instinct screamed to open the door, to pull her inside, but Margaret's words echoed. "Never try to help someone it's taken." The woman pounded on the glass, tears streaming down her face. Behind her the fog swirled, and I saw shadows moving. Multiple shapes now, circling. The woman's pounding became frantic. She screamed, the sound muffled by the glass, and I saw why. Something had her ankle, pulling. She clawed at the window frame as she was dragged backward into the fog. Our eyes met for one horrible second. Accusation and desperation and animal fear. Then she was gone. The only evidence she'd been there was a bloody handprint on my window. I ran, not outside, I wasn't that stupid, up the stairs to my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. The house was old, built solid. If I could just wait until dawn. The scratching followed me. Up the exterior wall, across the roof. Methodical. Searching. I huddled in my closet, hand clamped over my mouth to muffle my breathing. Then I heard something that nearly broke my sanity. My own voice, from outside. "Hello? Is someone there? I'm lost in the fog. Please help me." It was perfect. Every inflection, every subtle accent I'd never quite lost from growing up in California. But underneath, barely audible, was that wet breathing I'd heard before. "Please," my voice called again. "I'm so scared." How many people had opened their doors to familiar voices? How many had stepped into the fog thinking they were helping a neighbor, a friend, a loved one? I pressed myself deeper into the closet, eyes squeezed shut. Time lost meaning. There was only the dark, the sound of my racing heart, and the things moving outside my house. Scratching, calling, waiting. Dawn came like a fever breaking. The sound stopped first, then pale light crept under my closet door. When I finally emerged, stiff and shaking, the fog was gone. But the evidence remained. The scratches were everywhere. Deep gouges in the siding, the porch, around every window and door, and on my front door, carved with horrible precision, was a message. Tomorrow. My laptop was fried, the webcam footage corrupted beyond recovery. My phone was dead despite being fully charged the night before. Whatever this thing was, It didn't want to be documented. I stumbled to my car, key shaking in my hand. The engine turned over. Thank God. And I peeled out of the driveway. I had to leave, now. Let it hunt someone else tomorrow night. 3 blocks from my house, the engine died. I turned the key. Nothing, not even a click. The radio came on by itself, static filling the car. Through the white noise I heard breathing. In, out, in, out. I abandoned the car and ran back to my house. Because I understood now. There was no leaving. Not until this ended, one way or another. Tomorrow night the fog would come again. And this time, it wouldn't just be hunting, it would be collecting. I spent the next day preparing. If I couldn't run, I'd fight. I drove to the hardware store. My car worked fine in daylight, of course, and bought floodlights, motion sensors, battery-powered lanterns. The teenager at the checkout didn't meet my eyes as he rang up my purchases. "You're the new girl on Maple Street," he said quietly. "The marked house." I nodded. He leaned closer, glancing around the empty store. "My grandpa used to say, the only way to survive is to give it what it wants." "What does it want?" "Acknowledgement." He handed me my receipt with shaking hands. "It's old, older than the town. It was here first, and it wants us to remember that. To respect it." "How?" But he'd already turned away, busying himself with straightening merchandise that didn't need straightening. I installed the lights that afternoon, creating a perimeter of brightness around my house. Inside, I placed lanterns in every room, extra batteries within easy reach. I boarded up the windows. If I couldn't see out, maybe it couldn't see in. At the library, Agnes watched me pile books on local history, folklore, and Native American legends on my table. "You're going to face it," she said. It wasn't a question. "I don't have a choice." She disappeared into the back room, returning with a slim journal I hadn't seen before. The leather cover was stained and worn, the pages yellowed with age. This belonged to Samuel Clearwater, one of the town founders. He negotiated with it, back in the beginning. She placed it carefully in my hands. "Maybe it will help, maybe not. But Sarah, some prices aren't worth paying." Back home, I read Clearwater's journal as the sun sank toward the horizon. His cramped handwriting told a story of desperation and compromise. October 31st, 1887. The creature came again last night. We've lost 12 settlers since August. The remaining families threaten to abandon the settlement. I cannot let Cedar Falls fail. November 2nd, 1887. It spoke to me, not with words, but I understood. It's been here since before memory, moving through the fog between worlds. We built our town in its hunting grounds. It offers a bargain. November 3rd, 1887. The terms, "It will hunt only in October, only in the deepest fog." Those who respect the old ways, who stay indoors and don't interfere, will be spared. Those who challenge it, document it, or try to help its chosen prey will be marked. We agreed. God help us, we agreed. The entries continued for years, documenting the uneasy peace. The town prospered. People learned the rules. October became a month of quiet nights and careful residence. But every year someone forgot, someone got curious. Someone tried to be a hero. And every year the fog walker collected its due. The final entry was dated October 13th, 1923. It's hungry, hungrier than before. The bargain holds, but barely. Each year it takes more, pushes boundaries. I fear one day it will tire of our agreement. I pray I'm not alive to see it. I closed the journal as darkness fell. The fog would come soon. I could feel it in the air, that electric heaviness that preceded its arrival. But now I had something the creature didn't expect: understanding. At 10:45 p.m. I turned off all my new floodlights, removed the boards from one window in my living room, and waited. The fog rolled in like a living thing, thick and eager. My phone died instantly. The battery-powered lanterns flickered but held. For now. I sat cross-legged on my living room floor, Clearwater's journal open before me. The scratching started at 11:33 p.m., slow, questioning. It circled my house once, twice, testing, finding the unboarded window, the darkness where bright lights should be. A shadow fell across the fog outside, then another. They were all coming. Not just one predator, but a pack, a family. The things that lived between worlds and hunted in the space where reality grew thin. The window exploded inward in a shower of glass and fog. I didn't run, didn't scream. I sat perfectly still as the fog poured into my house like water, bringing with it the smell of wet earth and something older, primordial. It entered on all fours, just as Margaret had described. But in my living room it rose, stood, unfolded into something that my eyes still struggled to process. Those rows of eyes, dozens of them, fixed on me with an intelligence that was ancient and alien and terrifyingly familiar. "I know what you are," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I know the bargain." It tilted its head. Heads, the shape kept shifting, and I felt new its response. "You are marked. The bargain is broken." "By who?" I pulled out my laptop, showing the corrupted files. "I tried to record you, yes, but look. Nothing, you made sure of that. The bargain holds. You watched. You know. Others must not know." "Then take the knowledge." I held up Clearwater's journal. "Take it all, the library records, Margaret's research, my memories. Let Cedar Falls forget again. Let the bargain return to what it was." The creature moved closer. I could see now that what I thought was fur was something else. Shadows given form. Darkness that moved independently of light. It smelled my fear. Of course it did. But also my determination. Why? Because I thought of the woman at my window, of Murphy, of all the people who'd vanished into the fog over the years. Because some cages are mutual. You're trapped here as much as we are. Bound by the bargain. Forced to hunt only in October, only certain prey. That's not what you want either, is it? A long pause. The fog in my living room swirled, and I glimpsed other shapes within it. Smaller ones. Young? The thought that these things reproduced was somehow worse than everything else. The first ones understood. Respected. You build. Spread. Forget. Then help us remember. Not through fear, through agreement. Mark the houses that break the rules, yes, but mark them to warn, not to hunt. Let people know which houses to avoid, which families need reminding. Be the consequence, not the executioner. I was negotiating with a nightmare. But what choice did I have? The creature leaned down, and I found myself staring into dozens of reflective eyes. In them I saw time. Centuries of October fogs, of hunts, of a being that existed in the spaces between what humans understood as real. It was old, tired, bound by rules it had agreed to in desperation, just like the town founders. One chance, you speak for them now, you maintain the bargain. How? It reached out with something that might have been a hand if hands were made of shadow and fog. When it touched my forehead, I understood. Every October, when the fog came, I would know. Would feel them moving through the streets, testing boundaries, and I would remind people, quietly, carefully, keep the stories alive just enough to maintain fear, but not enough to draw outsiders. Be the keeper of Cedar Falls' dark secret, and if I fail, then the bargain ends. We hunt as we choose. The image it showed me. Cedar Falls, empty. Streets littered with things that used to be people. The fog, permanent. A barrier between the town and the world. Not just October anymore. Forever. I accept. The creature withdrew, fog swirling around its form. But before it left, it did something that chilled me more than any threat. It smiled. With a mouth that wasn't there seconds before, with teeth that belonged in deep-sea creatures' nightmares. Keeper. Then they were gone. The fog, the creatures, the impossible shadows. Only the broken window remained as evidence of their visit, that and the mark on my forehead. A small scar in the shape of 5 parallel lines, invisible except in October fog. I became Cedar Falls' secret keeper, the woman who reminded people to check their windows in October, who left anonymous notes for newcomers, who made sure the library's local history section stayed just accurate enough to warn, but not enough to prove. Margaret Swift died the following spring, peaceful in her sleep. She smiled when I visited her last time. "You did it," she whispered. "You found another way." But did I? Every October I feel them in the fog, watching, waiting, testing the boundaries of our new bargain. And every October I wonder, what happens when I'm gone? Who becomes the next keeper, or does the bargain die with me? I'm telling you this because I'm getting old now, because someone needs to know, because maybe, just maybe, one of you understands what it means to live with monsters, to bargain with them, to become the bridge between two worlds that should never touch. The fog is coming. I can feel it building in the west, ready to roll through the valleys of Cedar Falls. In a few hours they'll walk again, test doors, scratch at windows, look for those who've forgotten the rules, and I'll be here, watching, reminding, keeping the bargain that saves us all. But I wonder, I've always wondered, what they were hunting before we built our town in their territory, what they're really looking for in the fog. Because sometimes, on the coldest October nights, I hear them calling to something. Not hunting cries, but longing, like they're searching for something they lost, something that might come back if they just keep looking, something that might be worse than they are. So remember, when the fog comes, stay inside, not just because of what hunts within it, but because of what it's hunting for. Did this story give you chills? Have you ever experienced something unexplainable in the fog? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you want more spine-tingling tales that'll keep you up at night, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Sweet dreams. If you can manage them. What would you do if the fog came for you? Story number 3. The streetlight outside my apartment has been broken for 3 years. The city of Portland keeps promising to fix it. They never do, but here's the thing. It's not actually broken, not in the way they think. It works perfectly fine. Just not for everyone, only for me. And only when I'm afraid. I discovered this 2 months ago, on a Tuesday night when my neighbor's screaming woke me at 2:47 a.m. Not the usual drunk arguing. This was different, raw, primal, the kind of sound that makes your spine go cold before your brain even processes what's happening. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I call 911? I did, 3 times. The calls wouldn't go through. Just static, like the air itself was rejecting my voice. That's when I noticed the light. Flickering. Fast. Desperate. Like Morse code written in dying bulbs. And here's where you'll think I'm crazy. But I need to tell someone. Because last night, it happened again. Only this time, I finally understood what it's been trying to tell me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. When everything was still normal. When I still believed streetlights were just streetlights. The story begins now. My name is Sarah Chen, and I've lived on Hawthorne Boulevard for 5 years. Apartment 3, B, second floor corner unit with a perfect view of that damned streetlight. I work nights at Providence Hospital as an ER nurse, which means I walk home at all hours. 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Those dead hours when the city pretends to sleep but really just holds its breath. I used to love those walks. The quiet, the fog rolling in from the river, The way Portland becomes a different city when everyone else is dreaming. But that was before I started noticing things. Before the light started responding to me. The first time it happened, I blamed exhaustion. 12-hour shift, 2 cardiac arrests, 1 teenager who didn't make it. My hands were still shaking when I turned onto my street at 3:23 a.m. That's when I saw him. A man standing under my streetlight. Just standing there. Not walking, not waiting for someone. Just existing in that cone of amber light like he'd grown from the concrete. Navy blue jacket. Baseball cap pulled low. Something about his stillness made my stomach clench. I stopped walking, reached for my phone, pretended to check messages while I watched him through my peripheral vision. He didn't move, didn't shift his weight, didn't even seem to breathe. That's when the fear hit. Not regular fear. Not the kind you get from watching horror movies or hearing strange noises. This was primal, ancient. The kind of fear that bypasses your brain and goes straight to your bones. And the exact second that fear touched me, the streetlight flickered, once, twice, then steady again. The man's head turned. Slow, mechanical, like something pretending to be human had just remembered how humans move. I couldn't see his face under the cap's shadow, but I felt him looking at me, through me, into me. I ran, not walked fast, not hurried, ran, full sprint to my building's entrance, fumbling with keys, slamming the door behind me. I took the stairs 3 at a time and didn't stop until I was inside my apartment with the deadbolt turned. From my window, I looked down at the street. Empty. No man, no shadow. Just the street light, burning steady and normal like nothing had happened. I told myself I'd imagined it. Stress, exhaustion, too many true crime podcasts. But deep down, I knew something had changed. Some invisible line had been crossed. And once you cross certain lines, you can't go back. You can only go forward into whatever waits on the other side. After that night, I started paying attention. Really paying attention. And patterns emerged. Rules, almost. Like some twisted game I'd been entered into without my consent. Rule 1. The light only flickers when I'm genuinely afraid. Not nervous, not anxious, not worried, afraid. There's a difference, and the light knows it. Rule 2, it flickers in patterns. Short bursts for nearby threats. Long, sustained flickers for something worse, something coming. Rule 3, other people don't see it. I tested this. Walked home with coworkers. Asked them about the faulty street light. They'd look at me strange. What are you talking about? It's working fine. But the worst rule, Rule 4, when it flickers, something is always there. Always, even if I can't see it yet. I started documenting everything, times, patterns, what I felt versus what I saw. My phone became a repository of blurry photos and shaky videos, evidence that I wasn't losing my mind, or evidence that I was. I couldn't tell anymore. October 15th, 4:12 a.m. 3 short flickers. Found a man crouched behind the dumpster in the alley. He ran when he saw me noticing him. October 22nd, 3:47 a.m. Long, sustained flicker lasting 8 seconds. Nothing visible. But when I got inside, my apartment door was open. I know I locked it. October 30th, 2:58 a.m. Rapid flickering, almost strobe-like. A woman standing in my building's lobby, just standing, facing the wall. She was gone when I blinked. November 3rd, 3:33 a.m. The light went completely out for 30 seconds. I've never run so fast in my life. Still don't know what was chasing me, but I heard it breathing. My coworkers started noticing changes in me. Dark circles, jumpiness, the way I'd stare out windows during breaks, watching streetlights. "You okay, Sarah?" they'd ask. You seem different lately. How do you explain that a streetlight has become your early warning system for things that shouldn't exist? How do you tell people that the only thing standing between you and something terrible is a faulty electrical connection that only you can see? You don't. You smile. You lie. You say you're fine, just tired. And you keep walking home in the dark because what else can you do? You can't stop living just because living has become terrifying. But then came the night with Mrs. Patterson, and everything changed. Mrs. Patterson lived in 4A, elderly woman. Widow, the kind who bakes cookies for neighbors and keeps cats named after dead presidents. I'd helped her with groceries a few times. She always smelled like lavender and said I reminded her of her granddaughter. That night, November 15th, I was coming home late. 2:47 a.m. The streetlight was steady, normal. I actually felt relieved. Maybe whatever weird phase I'd been going through was ending. Maybe I could go back to my quiet walks and fog-kissed mornings. Then I heard it. That scream. The one I mentioned before. Raw. Primal. Coming from directly above my apartment. From 4A. The streetlight exploded into frantic flickers. Faster than I'd ever seen. Like a heart attack translated into light. And between the flashes, in those split seconds of darkness, I saw things. Shapes, moving in windows, too many limbs, wrong angles. I ran inside, up the stairs. The screaming had stopped, but somehow the silence was worse. Mrs. Patterson's door was open. Not forced, just open, like she'd invited someone in. I should have called for help, should have run. But the flickering light outside seemed to be pulling me forward. Demanding I look, demanding I see. The apartment was empty, not just of people, empty, furniture gone, pictures gone. Like no one had ever lived there at all, except for the smell. Lavender. So strong it made my eyes water. And on the wall, written in something dark, she saw us too. The police came, eventually. After my phone started working again, they found nothing. No evidence of Mrs. Patterson ever existing. No lease records, no neighbors who remembered her. The apartment had been vacant for months, they said. I must be confused. Stressed. Maybe I should talk to someone. But I had photos on my phone, Mrs. Patterson and me. Selfies from when I helped with her groceries. Except, when I looked, the photos showed only E, smiling at nothing, holding groceries for no one. That's when I understood. The streetlight wasn't warning me about dangers. It was marking me. Each flicker was a countdown. And people who see what we're not supposed to see, they get erased, not just killed. Erased, like they never were. And now the light flickers every night, getting longer, more insistent. Because they know I know, after Mrs. Patterson disappeared, or never existed. I stopped sleeping. How could I? Every shadow could be them. Every person on the street could be something else wearing human skin. The streetlight had become my only trustworthy companion, and it was telling me I was running out of time. But here's the thing about fear. When you live with it long enough, it changes, transforms, becomes something else. For me, it became curiosity. If I was marked anyway, if my erasure was inevitable, then I wanted to understand why. What were these things? Why the streetlight? Why me? I started walking different routes home, testing boundaries. The light only worked on my street, only that one specific lamppost outside my building. Everywhere else, I was blind, vulnerable. But I had to know if there were others like me. That's how I found Marcus. November 20th, 3:15 a.m. I'd taken the long way home through Laurelhurst Park. Stupid, dangerous. But I was past caring. The park was empty except for the usual Portland rain and a man sitting on a bench staring at a streetlight. Not just sitting, watching. The way I watched mine. I approached slowly, ready to run. But as I got closer, his streetlight flickered. Once, twice, a greeting, a recognition. "You see it too," he said without looking at me. Wasn't a question. Marcus had been watching his light for 3 years. 3 years of warnings. 3 years of staying one step ahead of erasure. He worked night security at a warehouse in Southeast. Said the light saved him more times than he could count. Started with sounds, he told me. Footsteps in empty hallways. Breathing in locked rooms. The light would flicker, and I'd know to get out. To not look. To not investigate. We compared notes, patterns, rules. His light worked differently than mine. Longer flickers for immediate danger. Short bursts for something approaching. But the core was the same. The lights were trying to protect us from something that didn't want to be seen. "There are more of us," Marcus said. "I found 7 in Portland alone. We meet sometimes, share information, try to figure out the rules." He gave me an address. A 24-hour diner on 82nd Avenue. Said they met every Thursday at 4 a.m. Said I'd be safe there. As safe as any of us could be. I almost didn't go. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. But loneliness is its own kind of danger. And I needed to know I wasn't insane. That others were living this nightmare too. The diner was exactly what you'd expect. Fluorescent lights, cracked vinyl booths, the smell of old coffee and older grease. But the people were like me. Exhausted, watchful, jumping at shadows. There was Anna, a delivery driver whose streetlight had been warning her for 6 months. She'd lost 2 friends to erasure. Saw them vanish mid-conversation. One moment there, the next, nothing. Not even memories remained for anyone but her, Thomas, a janitor at OHSU. His light showed him things in reflections, creatures that walked among us, wearing our faces, living our lives. He'd stopped looking in mirrors entirely. Rebecca, a bartender from the Pearl District. Her light didn't just flicker, it changed colors. Red for hunters, blue for watchers, white for something she wouldn't describe. Something that made her hands shake just thinking about it. We shared stories, strategies. The coffee was terrible, but it kept us anchored. Human, real, at least for a few hours. But then Marcus asked the question we'd all been avoiding. Why us? What makes us different? Why can we see them when no one else can? No one had an answer. We'd all had different lives before the lights, different jobs, different backgrounds. No connection except the fear, Anna said quietly. We all felt it, that first moment. That pure, primal fear. Like our bodies knew before our minds did. She was right. We'd all described the same feeling, that ancient terror, that knowledge that we were prey in a world of predators we couldn't see. Maybe that's what marks us, Thomas suggested. Maybe they can sense that fear, like blood in the water, and once they notice you noticing them. He didn't finish, didn't need to. We all knew how the story ended. With erasure, with becoming nothing, with friends and family forgetting we ever existed. But Rebecca had a different theory, one that made my skin crawl. What if we're not being hunted, she said. What if we're being recruited? The table went silent. Outside, a streetlight flickered. We all saw it. We all felt it. Think about it, she continued. The lights protect us, warn us, keep us alive when we should be dead. Why? What's the point unless they need us for something, I finished. The meeting ended after that. We scattered back to our separate lives, our separate fears. But Rebecca's words stayed with me. Recruited for what? And by whom? I got my answer 3 nights later, when the streetlight spoke to me. November 23rd, the night before Thanksgiving. The hospital had been chaos, holiday accidents, family fights turned violent. The kind of night that reminds you humans don't need supernatural threats. We're perfectly capable of destroying ourselves. I walked home at 3:33 a.m. The city was finally quiet. Even Portland's weird had gone to bed. Just me and the empty streets and the rain that never seemed to stop. My streetlight was waiting. Steady. Normal. I'd almost started to relax when it happened. The flicker wasn't like the others. This was deliberate, purposeful. Long and short bursts in a pattern I recognized. Morse code. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, recorded the pattern, translated it. The message was simple. Look up. I didn't want to. Every instinct screamed to run, to get inside, to hide under blankets like a child and pretend the monsters weren't real. But I looked. Of course I looked. You always look. The sky was wrong. I don't know how else to describe it. The clouds were there, but behind them, through them, something vast, something that hurt to perceive. Like reality was a painted backdrop and something had torn through from the other side. And in that tier, eyes. Thousands of them, watching, waiting, patient as stone. The streetlight flickered again. New message. We see you seeing us. My knees gave out. I sat on the wet sidewalk, rain soaking through my scrubs, staring at impossibility. The eyes stared back. Unblinking, eternal. Another message, you are ready. Ready for what? I wanted to scream. Ready to die? Ready to go insane? Ready to join whatever cosmic horror movie my life had become? The light went out completely. For the first time in 5 years, my street was truly dark. And in that darkness, something descended. Not physically, not in any way I can explain, but something came down from those watching eyes and entered me. Not possession. More like downloading. Information flooding my brain. Images, concepts, truth. I saw our world as they see it. A thin membrane stretched over churning chaos. Reality was agreement, a collective delusion. And some of us, a rare few, could see through the veneer, could perceive the things that moved between spaces, the predators, the watchers, the ones who fed on forgetting. The streetlights weren't protecting us. They were tagging us, marking those who could see, because the membrane was failing. The agreement was breaking down, and when it did, when the veneer finally tore, they would need translators, bridges between worlds, humans who could see both sides and not go mad. Well, not completely mad. The download ended. The eyes closed. The sky became just sky again, and my streetlight turned back on, steady, normal, like nothing had happened. But I understood now, the pattern, the purpose, the terrible honor of being chosen. I stood up, walked to my building, calm, composed, because what else could I do? The knowledge was in me now, couldn't be unknotted, couldn't be forgotten. Inside my apartment, I found them waiting. Not them, us, the others from the diner. Marcus, Anna, Thomas, Rebecca, all sitting in my living room like we'd planned this. You saw it too, Marcus said, the download. I nodded. We all had, at exactly the same time. In exactly the same way, the message delivered through our guardian lights. So, what do we do? Anna asked. Rebecca laughed, bitter, broken. What we've always done. We watch, we warn, we prepare. Because when the membrane tears, we're the early warning system, Thomas finished. The canaries in the cosmic coal mine. We sat in silence after that. 5 humans carrying impossible knowledge. 5 bridges between worlds that were never meant to touch. Outside, my streetlight flickered once. A goodbye. A thank you. A promise. Because our real work was just beginning. The membrane grows thinner every day. I see it in the news. The increase in unexplained disappearances. The way people's eyes slide past things they shouldn't ignore. The collective amnesia spreading like virus. Mrs. Patterson was just the beginning. The erasures are accelerating. Soon, the things that hide in peripheral vision won't need to hide anymore. But we'll be ready. The lightkeepers, the seers, the cursed and chosen few who stand between worlds. My streetlight still flickers when I'm afraid. But I understand now that it's not warning me about them. It's warning them about me. Because I'm not prey anymore. I'm something worse. I'm awake. And if you're listening to this late at night, if you're walking home and notice a streetlight flicker just for you, if you feel that ancient fear crawl up your spine, pay attention. The membrane is thinner than you think, and once you see them, they see you too. Tell me, has your streetlight been acting strange lately? Drop a comment below. Share this story with someone who walks alone at night. Subscribe if you want to hear more about what happens when the membrane finally tears. Because I've been documenting everything. Every flicker, every sighting, every erasure, and trust me, you'll want to be prepared for what's coming. Sweet dreams. Story number 4. The pizza box is still sitting on my kitchen counter. Cold now. Congealed cheese stuck to cardboard like dried glue. I haven't touched it in 3 days. Can't bring myself to throw it away because, well, that would mean accepting what happened. And I'm not ready for that, not yet. See, I keep telling myself there's a logical explanation. There has to be. People don't just disappear, not like that, not in broad daylight, not in suburban Minneapolis on a Tuesday afternoon when Mrs. Henderson next door was watering her petunias and the Johnsons' kids were playing street hockey. But they do. Sometimes they do. And sometimes they leave something behind that makes you wish they'd taken everything with them. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you what happened. Maybe if I say it out loud, write it down, share it with someone, anyone, maybe then it'll make sense. Or maybe you'll tell me I'm losing my mind. Either way would be a relief at this point. The story begins now. Tuesday started like any other day. I was working from home, spreadsheets blurring together on my laptop screen while Netflix played The Office reruns in the background. You know how it is. Background noise to fill the empty house. Sarah had taken the kids to her mother's for the week. Some drama about her sister's wedding planning that I'd expertly avoided by claiming a big project deadline. Around 2:30, my stomach started complaining. The leftover Chinese in the fridge had gone questionable. That particular shade of gray-green that screams food poisoning. So I did what any self-respecting bachelor for the week does. Opened DoorDash, Luigi's Pizza, family-owned place about 15 minutes away. Their pepperoni deep dishes was my guilty pleasure. Thick crust that could double as a boat anchor, cheese that stretches from here to Wisconsin, and enough grease to solve the energy crisis. Perfect depression food. I placed the order. Estimated delivery 3:15 p.m. Nothing unusual there. I've probably ordered from Luigi's 50 times since we moved to this neighborhood 3 years ago. Same drivers usually. Tony with the neck tattoo, Maria, who always smells like vanilla air freshener, sometimes the owner's kid, Vincent, when he's home from college. But at 3:07 I got a notification that made me pause. Your driver, Marcus, has picked up your order. Marcus. Never had a Marcus before. The profile picture was odd. Not bad odd, just... Have you ever seen those AI-generated faces? The ones that look almost right, but something's off? Like someone tried to draw a person from memory but forgot how shadows work? That's what Marcus looked like. Perfectly symmetrical face. Too symmetrical. Eyes that seemed to look through the camera rather than at it. I shrugged it off. Probably just a bad photo. We all have them. 3:12 p.m. Marcus is approaching your location. I minimized Netflix, saved my spreadsheet, walked to the front door to wait. I always tip cash for pizza. Old habit from my delivery days in college, so I had a 20 ready in my hand. Through the frosted glass panel beside my door, I saw the car pull up. Silver Honda Civic, dented front bumper, one headlight slightly dimmer than the other. Marcus got out. Here's where things get specific. I need you to understand that I notice details. Always have. It's what makes me good at my job, spotting inconsistencies in data, patterns that don't belong. So, when I tell you what I saw, I need you to know I'm not exaggerating. Marcus was wearing the standard DoorDash gear, red shirt, black cap, insulated bag. But the way he moved, have you ever watched someone walk who's just learning how? Like those videos of people taking their first steps after months of physical therapy. Every movement deliberate, calculated, as if he was thinking about each muscle, each joint, each step. Step, pause, step, pause, step. He reached my front walk and stopped. Just stopped. Standing there, holding the pizza bag, staring at my house. Not at the door, at the house itself, his head tilted slowly, mechanically, from left to right, like he was scanning it. I opened the door before he could knock. "Hey, Marcus?" His head snapped toward me. Too fast. The kind of movement that makes your neck hurt just watching it. And his smile. God, that smile. You know how people say a smile doesn't reach someone's eyes? This was the opposite. The smile was only in his eyes. His mouth stretched into the shape of a smile, but it was like watching someone follow instructions. Lift corners of mouth, show teeth, hold for 3 seconds. Pizza delivery for... He looked down at the receipt, though I swear his eyes didn't move. Daniel Morrison. That's me. I held out the 20. Keep the change. But he didn't take it, just stood there, holding the bag, smiling that broken smile. "Oh, would you mind if I..." His voice caught, like a record skipping. "Would you mind if I use your restroom?" Long day, many deliveries. Now, normally I'd say no. You don't let strangers into your house. That's common sense, basic safety. But there was Mrs. Henderson next door, aggressively deadheading her roses while obviously eavesdropping. The Johnson kids had stopped their game to stare. And Marcus looked so earnest, so normal, despite the strange movements. Just a guy who needed to pee, sure. I stepped aside. Down the hall, first door on the right. He handed me the pizza bag and walked inside. That same deliberate walk, step, pause, like he was counting the distance. I should have noticed that he didn't ask where the bathroom was after I told him. Should have noticed that he turned right without hesitation. Should have noticed a lot of things. But I was hungry, and the pizza smelled amazing, and Mrs. Henderson was giving me that look that said she'd have opinions about my hospitality at the next HOA meeting if I'd turned him away. Well, I set the pizza on the kitchen counter, grabbed a beer from the fridge, waited, and waited, and waited. 5 minutes is a long time when someone's in your bathroom. You start noticing every second. The tick of the kitchen clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of the Johnson kids resuming their game. At 7 minutes, I walked down the hall. "Hey, Marcus, everything okay in there?" Silence. I knocked. "Marcus?" The door was closed, but there's this thing about my house. Settling foundation means nothing quite fits right anymore. The bathroom door doesn't latch unless you really push it. I could see the thin line of light underneath. No shadows. No movement. "I'm going to open the door, okay? Just making sure you're all right." I turned the handle. The door swung open. The bathroom was empty. Not empty like he'd left. Empty like he'd never been there. The toilet seat was down. The hand towel hung perfectly straight. Sarah had trained me well. The window was closed and locked from the inside, painted shut years ago. "Marcus?" I checked behind the shower curtain. Nothing. Checked the hall closet next to the bathroom. Just towels and Sarah's collection of bath bombs. Walked through every room on the first floor, calling his name. Kitchen, living room, den, laundry room. Nothing. Maybe he'd gone upstairs. But I would have heard him on those creaky steps. Still, I checked. Master bedroom. Kids' rooms. Guest room. Attic access and the hallway ceiling still sealed with last winter's plastic weatherproofing. 20 minutes now. I was standing in my kitchen, staring at the pizza box, trying to make sense of it. The silver Civic was still parked outside. I could see it through the window, engine off, empty. I called DoorDash support. Have you ever tried explaining something impossible to customer service? The poor girl on the other end, Madison, her name was. She kept asking if the driver had been rude or if the food was cold. No, Madison. He came inside to use my bathroom and now he's gone. Gone, sir? Disappeared, vanished. His car's still here, but he's not. Long pause. Keyboard clicking. I show the delivery was completed at 3:16 p.m. Did you receive your order? Yes, but I can issue a refund if there was a problem with your food, Mr. Morrison. I hung up. Called 911 next. That went about as well as you'd expect. 911. What's your emergency? There's someone missing from my house. Someone is missing? Who is missing, sir? The DoorDash driver. He came inside and... Sir, are you reporting an intruder? No, I let him in. To use the bathroom. But now he's gone and his car's still here. Another long pause. How long has he been gone? About 30 minutes. Sir, adults aren't considered missing until... I hung up on them too. By 4 o'clock, I was sitting on my front porch watching the Civic. Mrs. Henderson had given up her gardening pretense and was openly staring from her yard. The Johnson kids had been called inside. That's when I noticed the smell. You know that smell when you leave wet clothes in the washer too long? Mildew and decay and something else. Something organic. It was coming from inside my house. Faint at first, but getting stronger. I followed it back to the bathroom. Stronger there. Definitely coming from the bathroom. But from where? I checked everywhere. Unless the medicine cabinet. I hadn't checked behind the medicine cabinet. Our house is old. 1924 craftsman. Original everything. Including the built-in medicine cabinet. It's this massive thing recessed into the wall. Weighs about as much as a small car. Sarah's always talking about replacing it. But I like the authenticity. I grabbed the edges and pulled. It shouldn't have moved. 100 years of paint and caulk should have held it firm, but it swung open like it was on hinges. Behind it was a hole. Not a normal hole. Not a gap in the plaster or a space between studs. A hole that went somewhere else. Somewhere that didn't match the blueprint of my house. Somewhere that smelled like mildew and old copper and something sweet-sick, like overripe fruit. And at the edge of that hole, caught on a splinter of wood, was a torn piece of red fabric. DoorDash red. I slammed the medicine cabinet shut, backed out of the bathroom, closed the door, went to the kitchen and opened a second beer, then a third. The Civic stayed there until 11:47 p.m. I know the exact time because I was watching when it happened. One moment it was there, silver paint glowing under the streetlight. The next, gone. Not driven away, gone. Like it had never been there at all. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that impossible hole. Smelled that sweet, sick stench. Heard the echo of footsteps that didn't match any human gait. By morning, I'd convinced myself I'd imagined it. Stress from work. Too many beers. Maybe I was coming down with something. The mind plays tricks, right? Wrong. Wednesday morning, I made myself check. Had to know. The bathroom door was still closed, exactly as I'd left it. I stood there for a full minute, hand on the knob, heart hammering. The medicine cabinet was open. Not wide open, just a crack, maybe an inch, but enough to let that smell out. Stronger now, and something else. A sound. Like breathing, but not quite. More like wind through a narrow space, or whispers too soft to understand. I pulled it wider. The hole had changed. Grown, maybe. Or maybe I just saw more of it in the morning light. The edges were smooth now, worn like river stone. And deep inside, movement. Shadows shifting in ways shadows shouldn't shift. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen junk drawer, those big mag lights that double as clubs, shined it into the hole. The beam didn't penetrate. The darkness just ate it, swallowed the light like thick oil. But for just a second, right before I pulled back, I saw something. A flash of red, moving away, deeper. That's when I heard the knock at the front door. I slammed the cabinet shut again, harder this time, heard something crack. Hopefully just the old wood, ran to the front door, flashlight still in hand. It was Mrs. Henderson. 73 years old, lived next door for 40 years, knew everyone's business and wasn't shy about sharing it. "Daniel, are you all right, dear? You look terrible." I caught my reflection in the hall mirror. She wasn't wrong. Unshaven, unwashed, yesterday's clothes, eyes bloodshot and wild. "I'm fine, Mrs. H, just working late." She studied me with those sharp blue eyes. Former teacher's eyes, the kind that could spot a lie at 50 paces. "Is that so? Because I saw the strangest thing yesterday, that delivery driver going into your house and never coming out. Then his car just sitting there all evening." She leaned in closer. Then it just wasn't. 1 minute there, next minute gone, no engine sound, no lights, just gone. "So I wasn't crazy, or we both were." "You saw that?" She nodded. "I've lived in this neighborhood since before you were born, Daniel. I've seen strange things, but not like this, not in broad daylight." "What do you mean, strange things?" But she was already backing away. "You should call someone, the police, a priest, someone." She paused at the sidewalk. "And Daniel, don't use that bathroom. Board it up if you have to." She shuffled back to her house before I could ask what she meant. But I saw her at her window the rest of the day, watching, waiting. I tried to work, opened my laptop, stared at spreadsheets, but the smell kept getting stronger. And the sounds, I could hear them from my kitchen now. That not quite breathing, that almost whispering. By afternoon I'd made a decision. I needed help, real help. Not police who wouldn't believe me or customer service reading from scripts. I needed someone who dealt with impossible things. I found him on Craigslist of all places. Unusual home problems solved, discreet, experienced, no questions asked. The guy who showed up looked like an accountant. Thin, balding, wire-rimmed glasses, carrying a briefcase and wearing a suit that had seen better decades. "Mr. Morrison, I'm Paul Winters. You called about an unusual problem." I led him to the bathroom. Didn't say anything, just opened the door and pointed at the medicine cabinet. He stood there for a long moment. Then he set down his briefcase, opened it. Inside were things that didn't belong in an accountant's briefcase. Copper rods, glass vials filled with different colored salts, something that looked like a tuning fork but had too many prongs, and a notebook filled with symbols that hurt to look at. "How long has it been here?" His voice was different now, professional, clinical. "The whole, since yesterday, I think, maybe longer." "Not the whole." He pulled on latex gloves. "The door." "The door?" He looked at me over his glasses. "That's not a hole, Mr. Morrison. It's a door, and doors go both ways." He approached the cabinet slowly, pulled it open. The smell hit us both. Stronger now, mixed with something else. Pizza, pepperoni and melting cheese and garlic. But wrong. Like someone had described pizza to something that had never tasted food. Paul took one of the copper rods, extended it toward the darkness. It bent, not the rod, the space around it. Like looking at a straw in water, but worse. Then something grabbed it, pulled. Paul let go just in time. The rod disappeared into the dark. We heard it hit something, many somethings, clattering, like it was falling down stairs that went on too long. "Mr. Morrison," Paul said quietly, backing away. "You need to leave, now. Pack nothing, take nothing, just leave." "But this is my house, my family. Your family is at your mother-in-law's." I nodded. Good. Tell them to stay there. Tell them. He thought for a moment. Tell them there was a gas leak, carbon monoxide, anything, but don't let them come back. You're scaring me. I should be. He was packing up his briefcase, movements quick and efficient. That driver, Marcus? He didn't disappear, he went through, and now it knows the way is open. What knows? But Paul was already heading for the door. At the threshold, he turned back. Don't go back to the bathroom. Don't look in the hole again. And whatever you do, he stared at me, deadly serious. Don't eat the pizza. Then he left. Peeled out of my driveway like the house was on fire. Left me standing there with more questions than answers. I looked at the pizza box still sitting on my counter. Closed. Untouched since yesterday. I'd been too freaked out to eat, too disturbed to throw it away. I opened it. The pizza looked perfect, better than perfect. The cheese still bubbled, the pepperoni glistened. Steam rose from the surface like it had just come out of the oven. After sitting there for over 24 hours, and carved into the surface, written in what looked like melted mozzarella, were 2 words. Come back. I should have left. Should have gotten in my car and driven to Sarah's mother's house and never looked back. Should have done exactly what Paul Winters told me to do. But you don't understand what it's like, having something impossible in your house, in your bathroom, behind your medicine cabinet. It's like having a splinter in your mind. You can't stop thinking about it. Can't stop wondering. Can't stop picking at it. And the smell. God, the smell. It had spread through the whole house now. Sweet and sick and wrong. But underneath it, pizza. Fresh, hot pizza. The kind of smell that makes your mouth water even when your brain is screaming danger. I lasted until Thursday night. I tried to sleep on the couch, tried to pretend everything was normal. But I could hear them now. Footsteps upstairs. My footsteps. The exact pattern of my walk from bedroom to bathroom. Step, pause, step, pause. Then the medicine cabinet opening. Then silence. Then it would start again. At 3:16 a.m., exactly 48 hours after Marcus had disappeared. I heard the toilet flush. I sat up on the couch, waited, listened. Footsteps coming down the stairs, but not my pattern. Not anymore. Step. Pause. Step. Pause. Step. The deliberate, calculated movement I'd watched Marcus make. I grabbed the mag light. Stood in my living room like an idiot holding a flashlight like a weapon. The footsteps stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Daniel Morrison. It was Marcus's voice. But also not. Like someone had recorded him and played it back through water. Through static. Through something that didn't understand how human voices worked. Daniel Morrison, 5 stars, good tip, would deliver again. I turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the figure at the bottom of my stairs. It was wearing Marcus. That's the only way I can describe it. Like Marcus was a suit and something else had put him on. The proportions were wrong. Arms too long, neck at an angle that should have been broken, and the smile, that practiced, mechanical smile, was now too wide, far too wide. Pizza delivery for Daniel Morrison. It held out a box. Fresh, hot. The DoorDash logo perfect and pristine. I already got my pizza. No. The thing wearing Marcus stepped forward. That deliberate step. That was the order. This is the delivery. It set the box on my coffee table. I noticed its fingers had too many joints. Noticed the way its DoorDash shirt moved like something underneath was breathing. Open it. I shook my head. Open it. The smell hit me harder. Perfect pizza. Childhood birthdays. Late-night study sessions. Every good memory associated with melted cheese and tomato sauce. My hand moved without my permission. I opened the box. Inside was my bathroom. Not a picture, not a model. My actual bathroom, somehow folded and compressed into a pizza box. I could see the medicine cabinet wide open. Could see through the hole to somewhere else. And in that somewhere I saw more holes. More doors. More bathrooms and kitchens and bedrooms, stretched out like an infinite funhouse mirror, and in each one, a delivery driver, waiting, watching, wearing human faces like masks. "We deliver everywhere," the Marcus thing said. "Every house, every home, every family. We bring what you order, we take what we need." "What do you need?" It tilted its head, that mechanical movement. "Routes, new routes, new addresses, new doors." The smile stretched wider. "You opened the door, invited us in, completed the delivery." I understood then. The deliberate walk, the counting steps, the scanning of my house. It hadn't needed the bathroom. It had been mapping, learning, recording every inch of my home. "But I can offer you a deal," it continued. 5 stars, good review. We forget this address, never deliver here again." "What? What do you want?" It reached into the pizza box bathroom, pulled out a tablet. DoorDash driver app open on the screen. New account, new driver, 1 delivery. It held out the tablet. "Then we go, all of us, forever." I looked at the screen. A single order waiting, address I didn't recognize, name I couldn't read. The letters kept shifting. Just 1 delivery? 1 delivery, in and out, easy money, good tips on the other side. I thought about Sarah, about my kids, about them coming home to this house with these things waiting behind every door. I took the tablet. The moment I touched it, I felt the pull. Like gravity had shifted. Like down was suddenly sideways, and sideways was through the hole in my bathroom. The Marcus thing smiled wider. "Excellent choice. 5 stars." I don't remember walking to the bathroom, don't remember climbing through the medicine cabinet. Just remember the sensation of falling sideways through my own house, through spaces that shouldn't exist, past other homes folded into impossible angles, other doors, other deliveries. And then I was somewhere else, standing in front of a house that looked like mine but wasn't, holding a pizza bag that felt too heavy, wearing a red shirt I didn't remember putting on. The tablet in my hand showed an active delivery. I walked up to the door. My movements felt wrong, delayed, like I was operating my body by remote control. I knocked, waited. A man answered, tired-looking, confused. "Pizza delivery for..." I looked at the receipt, though I somehow knew the name. Robert Chen. I didn't order pizza, but I could smell it, fresh from his kitchen. Could see the DoorDash notification on his phone, could feel the door behind his medicine cabinet, waiting to open. "You did," I heard myself say. 37 minutes ago, Luigi's, pepperoni deep dish. He frowned, checked his phone. His eyes widened. I guess I did. Sorry, long day, let me get my wallet." "Actually," I said, and felt my face stretch into that practiced smile. "Would you mind if I use your restroom? Long day, many deliveries." He hesitated. I saw him notice my movements. Too deliberate, too careful. Saw him almost say no. Then his neighbor came out, started watering flowers, watching. "Sure," Robert said finally. "Down the hall, first door on the right." I handed him the pizza bag, walked into his house. Step, pause, mapping, learning, recording. The bathroom was exactly where I knew it would be. The medicine cabinet old, painted shut. But that didn't matter. Doors opened both ways. I pressed my hand against it, felt it give. Felt the space behind it soften, stretch, become something else. The smell of mildew and copper and overripe fruit filled the small room. I climbed through, back in the between space, the folded spaces where houses overlapped and addresses meant nothing, where every home was 1 step away from every other home, where things that wore delivery driver faces moved through the dark, carrying orders that should never be delivered. The Marcus thing was waiting. Delivery complete. 5 stars. Good job. Now let me go home. It laughed, sound like pizza cheese bubbling, like doors opening in sequence, like every doorbell ringing at once. "You are home." Every home, all homes, we deliver everywhere. I ran through the twisted spaces, past infinite bathrooms and kitchens, looking for my house, my door, my way back. I found it eventually. My bathroom folded into the corner of nowhere, climbed through, fell onto my tile floor. The house was empty, silent. The pizza box still on my coffee table, but closed now, sealed. The smell was gone. The footsteps had stopped. I checked my phone, Friday morning. I'd been gone for hours. I called Sarah, told her about the gas leak, the carbon monoxide, told her to stay at her mother's for another week, maybe 2, until I could get someone to check the house. Then I packed a bag, took Paul Winters' advice, got in my car and drove away. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. When I checked my DoorDash app, there was a new review. 5 stars from Robert Chen. Driver was professional and quick, would order again. And below that, a notification. A new order. My address, my name. Scheduled for delivery next Tuesday at 3:16 p.m. I've tried to cancel it. Tried to delete the app, tried to call support, but it just keeps reappearing. Same order, same time, same driver. Marcus, 5 stars. Excellent delivery record. Never misses an address. I won't be there. I'll be at a hotel, or at Sarah's mother's, or driving nowhere on the interstate. Anywhere but home. But I know it doesn't matter. They deliver everywhere. Every house, every home, and doors. Doors open both ways. The pizza box is still sitting on my kitchen counter, at least that's what Sarah tells me. She went back to get some clothes yesterday. Said the house smells fine, said everything looks normal. Said the only weird thing is that pizza box I apparently left out. She's going to throw it away for me. I told her not to open it. Made her promise. But I could hear it in her voice, that curiosity, that need to know. The same splinter in the mind that made me open that medicine cabinet one too many times. She's going back tomorrow, taking the kids. Says they miss their rooms, miss their toys, miss home. I want to tell her the truth, want to scream it. But how do you explain that our bathroom is a door to somewhere else? That delivery drivers aren't always people? That some orders should never be placed and some deliveries should never be accepted? You don't. You sound crazy. You get medication and therapy and concerned looks from your family. So, instead, I'm telling you. Whoever's listening, whoever believes in impossible things, check your medicine cabinets. Watch your delivery drivers. Pay attention to how they walk. And whatever you do, don't let them use your bathroom. Because Marcus is still out there, still delivering, still wearing that broken smile and red shirt, still mapping houses and learning routes and opening doors that should stay closed. One day, he'll deliver to your house, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe right now, pulling up in a silver Civic with one dim headlight, and when he asks to use your bathroom, when he stands at your door with that practiced smile and those deliberate movements, say no. Say no and close the door and pretend you never ordered anything at all. But you'll let him in, I know you will. Because it's the polite thing to do, the neighborly thing, the human thing. And that's what they're counting on. That's what they've always been counting on. 5 stars. Would deliver again. Check your doors, friends, all of them. Even the ones you can't see. Listen. The whispers and make a decision whether we are going to cooperate with the whispers or we just want to skip them. But actually no one can skip these whispers. If you walk away from them, they will run towards you until they reach you. They confront you, make you pay, make you suffer the same thing they suffer. There is no escape from them. If you want to escape, help them, so they can have peace, and you also can have it. Help, or you will ask for help soon. So, the end of today's video has arrived. Share your personal horror experiences in the comments. Also, comment the part of the story that you find the most horror and terrifying. If you like this video, leave a like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, ring the bell icon so you don't miss the upcoming videos. Remember, don't run from whispers, because they follow you. They know you. They want you to listen, just confront them. Now, sleep well, or should I say, have a haunted night.